Hey my fellow friends, it's Chris from Jughead Gaming bringing you my review for Dash Dash World, developed and published by Motion X Studio and releasing for the Oculus Quest and Rift S October 8th, 2020, and a PSVR release expected in Q1 of 2021. At the time of this review, no price has been listed, but stay tuned until my final review as I will talk about what I would pay for it. VR has been waiting for a proper kart racer to be made. It took a while, but Dash Dash World looks to be doing just that, with a cartoon-inspired racer that looks an awful lot like the awesome kart racing titles we all grew up with the likes of Mario Kart, Diddy Kong Racing, and my personal favorite, Crash Team Racing. The trailers have been jaw-dropping, but does the game actually deliver? Stay with me while I tear it down and find out. As always guys, if you like this video, please hit that like button. It not only helps out my channel, but VR gaming as a whole. And if you'd like to see more VR content from me, please consider subscribing, and for video updates, hit that bell icon. Well, let's kick things off with a look at graphics. With the Quest and the soon-to-be-released Quest 2 flying off shelves and significantly outnumbering PC VR headset sales, I'm not surprised to see a trend developing in the VR games coming out this fall. Like Population 1, Dash Dash World looks like a game made with the Quest's limitations very much in mind and then scaled up for PC. My VR beginnings being on the PSVR, the opposite was usually the case, which makes this all the more interesting. This being the case, the overtly cartoon visuals in Dash Dash World play well in the Quest headset. Cars take on a lower poly look here, while the environments themselves certainly get the preferential treatment, with significantly more detailed textures and shaders being visibly utilized on the trackside details and the roads themselves. Turning for a second to the PC version, sees a version that benefits from the extra horsepower by significantly boosting the in-game anti-aliasing, making it a much more polished looking game than the Quest version, which does suffer from a significant increase in jagged edges when looking out into the world. The overall texture detail drops off much quicker on the Quest version as well, giving track details and the roads a much more blurry look. This is rarely a problem though when it comes to actually enjoying the racing experience, but a standout issue I did have with the Quest version was the lack of visible impact on enemy vehicles when firing bullet-based guns, making it really difficult to know if I was actually hitting them. The PC does not suffer this issue, but this version, with its glaring lack of any graphical settings, isn't completely void of some aliasing issues, and it does hold it back. But it still benefits with little of the texture blur issues seen on the Quest version, and in fact layers on some nice water and lighting effects to give the game a look much closer to what we saw in the trailers. Frame rates appeared to be very solid on the PC version and much the same on the Quest, with the rare exception of some dropped frames in the more hectic moments. These differences aside, both versions certainly look like the same game, with the Quest simply coming off like the low-end settings of the same PC game. The Quest 2 does receive a graphical boost that I expect to bring much more parity with the PC version, but Oculus hates me, so I can't test that until next week. Moving on from the tech stuff, Dash Dash does indeed look very much like Mario Kart in VR, which is truthfully what everybody wants. That being said, Dash Dash suffers from a case of the generics, as a majority of its courses simply seem to retread the same tired tropes of every single kart racer I've ever played. You have the street race track, your Japan themed track, the cloud track, the countryside track, you get the idea. Honestly though, Dash Dash has obviously put a lot of care into these tracks, and it really does show, as while a majority of the game's 7 courses do have a very been there done that vibe of previous titles, they are at times very good interpretations of classic kart racing locales, but brought to VR, faring significantly better than what we saw last year in touring karts. The immediate issue that Dash Dash has going for it though is its sheer lack of tracks, with a measly 7 to choose from at launch. As such, things get visually pretty stale quick, and while I appreciate the real-world vehicle models, the game's generic leanings can be seen on the character and vehicle side of things as well, as there's absolutely nothing here resembling personality in the game's vehicles or the NPCs you will face in the campaign mode. With all the unlockable cosmetics and taunts, this is much less an issue meeting up with online racers, but the package as a whole simply isn't very exciting or imaginative. Dash Dash World is a good-looking game regardless of hardware, with the PC version coming closer to the promises the initial trailers made. This certainly is visually much closer to a Mario Kart in VR, but at this time it simply lacks the variety, imagination, or personality to leave much of an impact. Sound is up next. We all know what a kart game should sound like, and like the visuals, Dash Dash World does a fine job of ticking off all the boxes expected from them. Light and playful music, cartoon-styled weapons and game sounds, and an over-the-top delivery of it all. Unfortunately, like the visuals, nothing here is particularly special, and comes off like a very paint-by-numbers interpretation of the genre, with the uninspired and forgettable music offering a soundtrack to some very competent but still bland sound effects. Engine sounds are particularly bland, often coming off more like a loud sewing machine than a race car. And that's if you can actually hear them, as the game currently glitches out the engine sounds on a regular basis on both the Quest and PC version. A problem I wish the boost notification had, for if you decide to hold a charged boost, you have to listen to a warning alarm the entire time you do. These problems aside, the overtly generic quality of the audio design here may not bother most gamers interested in this game, as these games are often much more about being light and joyful and rarely excel at being standouts in the sound department. And as such, World's issues aside, is a competent sounding game that stays in its lane and rarely passes. And that brings us to gameplay. If you're interested in this game, chances are you want Mario Kart in VR. Is World that game? No, but it could be. World, like Mario Kart before it and the many imitations since, employs the standard kart racing mechanics we all grew up with and mastered decades ago. Charge up at the start to launch, drive over acceleration pads, look for shortcuts, and of course drift to boost, all while picking up and tossing an assortment of zany and ridiculous power-ups to throw at your opponents, all in an effort to make the podium. Cartoon kart racing is a genre for a reason, and World does these mechanics well enough to justify the comparisons to some of the genre's best. Racing is solid here, offering a nice mix of accessibility, but with a learning curve that eases you in as you unlock a faster class of cars, unlock harder tracks, and meet better racers both on and offline. Drifting feels really good, and I love the ability to easily chain boosts together when doing so. As such, like Mario and Crash's kart outings, drifting is the key to success here. This in addition to some smart track design, a drafting mechanic, and you have a solid little kart racer. Booting up World, you are offered a tutorial to learn the basics, and then given the option to either go online looking for competition, or begin the rather short story mode referred to as the Academy. In addition, the game offers daily challenges, side objectives, a practice mode, and of course the ability to set up offline races of either the combat or pure racing variety. However, in a move I found very frustrating, most of this content is locked out until you progress through the story mode, unlocking these modes for use along with the game's 3 extreme tracks and Pro mode, essentially World's version of Mario's 150cc class, and significantly increasing the speed at which karts drive. Locked content is nothing new in racing games, but after a few races on the rather tame basic speed and the normal tracks, I wanted the loops, flying, and speed I saw in the trailer, and those can only be accessed once you play through the campaign. And while the increase in speed is a very welcomed addition to be sure, the 3 extreme courses are frickin' fantastic and truly deliver the thrills and excitement that I always thought Mario Kart in VR would deliver. Not only do these courses benefit from some extremely intense VR moments, but they also are technically more challenging, more imaginative, and often make for more competitive races. So much so that I often found myself looking at World as a 3-track game with 5 other courses from an early version. Suffice it to say, this contrast in track quality doesn't help the game's ridiculously low track count, with no variations on these courses, as well as a lack of any really meaningful shortcuts that often spice up the games of this genre with their risk and reward nature. The game's wide selection of weaponry, which is all fired and thrown with your motion controllers, certainly does help to add some much needed variety and challenge to the core gameplay. And while I found some of the weapons a little underpowered and others a little confusing on their function, as a whole the weapon selection and implementation was balanced, and most importantly it was fun. To avoid the constraints of the single player mode, one can choose to either party up or head in solo to the online portion of World. Matchmaking seems to be working well, and this is definitely where World shines, as online competition is significantly more dynamic than the single player's AI, which is competent at best. This is also where the game's currency will be earned to purchase many cosmetic options, ranging from character clothing, accessories, and hairstyles to new vehicle models, engines, and wheels. Outside of the engines, this is all simply for appearance sake and can also be unlocked through offline play of either the story mode or additional challenges, which result in the award of loot boxes that randomly offer parts and accessories. However, while the online play is where World is at its best, it also highlights the game's biggest issue, a lack of tracks, and specifically tracks on the level of the extreme tracks. Dash Racing requires the use of 2 motion controllers and offers up 2 primary control schemes. And while most of you are likely eager to jump in and actually steer the in-game wheel and thrust the boost shifter forward, I found it nothing but frustrating and quickly retreated to the default controls of using the analog stick in conjunction with the trigger and grip to control the vehicle, leaving my other hand to handle all the weapons. In addition, there is a third control option for PC users only in the form of steering wheel and pedal implementation. However, in a puzzling move, it only supports the Logitech G9 at launch and wouldn't recognize my Thrustmaster setup. Dash Dash World is played seated and requires a moderate amount of room to accommodate flinging arms. There's a look back button, but this isn't always very useful, so expect to be turning around quickly to throw weapons backwards. Motion sickness, especially on the extreme tracks and in pro mode, could be an issue, but fear not, as Motion X Studio offers a suite of comfort options ranging from an eye guide and blinders to a helmet view and cart frame. And finally, that brings me to fun factor in my final review. Like I said, Dash Dash Racing could be the Mario Kart in VR we all hoped it would be. The foundation is there and it looks and plays good, and most importantly, it has the addictive racing and weapon formula down. It lacks much in the way of its own personality, but if they can get the online play where it needs to be, that simply won't matter too much. And there lies Dash Dash World's main issue. With only 7 courses and a handful of truly great ones, even the combined headset count of the PC and Quest will not keep this game going unless it gets more content into rotation and quick. As such, additional courses and online curation will be where this game lives or dies, or there won't be an online community by the time the PSVR version releases. As you guys know, I hate numbered review scores and instead rate games on a basis of buy it, burn it, or wait on it, as well as some details on who this might appeal to. Without a price attached to this game, I'll just say I wouldn't pay more than $25 for Dash Dash World, based on its current amount of content. Whether you love kart racing titles, prefer to play offline or online, the limited amount of courses simply means Dash Dash World is likely to lose its grip on you pretty quick and leave you looking for more. Motion X Studios does list on their game page that more tracks are coming, but until a solid roadmap is in place, I would only recommend this as a buy to those really pumped for a Mario Kart in VR game. For others, like myself with a moderate amount of interest, maybe wait for a sale on this one or until Motion X delivers extra content.